Hey there and welcome back. Today, we are going to crack the code on a topic that is just absolutely essential for any business leader and, frankly, a huge deal for anyone studying for the SCMPE exams. We're talking about performance reports. So let's build the ultimate guide to creating reports that actually get things done. I want you to just think about this for a second. How does the CEO of some huge company with offices or stores all over the country really know what's happening on the ground? The answer? They don't. Not without help, anyway. Trying to manage a business without solid performance reports is literally like trying to fly a plane in a storm with no instruments. You're just flying blind, and that is a recipe for disaster.
So before we dive into the nuts and bolts of how you actually build one of these things, let's just take a minute to talk about why they're so important. I mean, they are the lifeblood of good management. This isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about painting a clear picture of what's really going on.
Okay, let's get practical. Imagine you're the CEO of a restaurant chain we'll call Green Plate. You look at the numbers and see that one of your branches is down 20% in profit. Yikes. A great report doesn't just tell you that. It shines a big old spotlight on that problem. It quantifies it, and it gives you the perfect reason to sit down with the branch manager and say, okay, what's happening here and how do we fix it? See, it's a tool that turns data directly into a conversation and then into action.
All right, so we get the why. Now let's get to the how. Look, creating a powerful report isn't some kind of dark art. It's a process, and we've broken it down into a super clear 6-step blueprint that you can use every single time to get it right. And here it is, the secret sauce. First, know your user so what you write is actually relevant. Second, set your objectives so you stay focused. Third, write an executive summary, because nobody has time. Fourth, assess the performance. That's the juicy part. Fifth, nail the layout so it's easy to read. And last but not least, check your details, because trust is everything. We're going to walk through each one of these right now.
Step 1 is the absolute foundation of everything. A report for the CEO of our restaurant, Green Plate, is going to look totally different from a report for the head chef, right? The CEO needs the 30,000-foot view, overall profit, big picture stuff. The head chef? They need to know about food costs, waste percentages, kitchen staff hours. It's the same business, but completely different needs. So always start by asking, who am I writing this for?
Okay, now let's get your report lined up with what the company is actually trying to achieve. And this is where a couple of really important exam keywords pop up. First, you've got your critical success factors, or CSFs. These are the big things the business must get right to win. For Green Plate, a CSF might be something like amazing customer service. Then you have your KPIs, or key performance indicators. These are the numbers you use to measure if you're hitting those CSFs. So it's not just about profit. A KPI could be average table turnaround time, or a percentage of food waste. KPIs are what bring your strategy to life. Honestly, this step is totally non-negotiable, especially when you're reporting up to senior managers. These people are busy, so right at the top of the report, you give them the executive summary. It's the whole story in a nutshell. What's the main point? What's going well? What's on fire? If they only read that one paragraph, they should get the gist of the entire situation. All right, this is the main event. This is the heart and soul of your report. This is where you take all those KPIs you identified and you actually analyze them. But you don't just state them. You compare them to something meaningful. Maybe you compare them to your budget, or to last year's numbers, or even to your biggest competitor. That comparison is what turns raw, boring data into actual business intelligence. Please, whatever you do, do not underestimate the power of a good layout. Nobody wants to read a dense page full of tiny numbers. It's intimidating. But look at this side, a clean bar chart showing sales trends, or a simple pie chart breaking down costs. Bam, you get it, instantly. The key is to use visuals to tell the story, and then add a little bit of text next to it to explain why the numbers look the way they do.
And finally, we have the step that protects your credibility. Think about it. One wrong number, one typo in a key figure, and suddenly the whole report is questionable. Before you hit send, double-check your numbers. Triple-check them. Proofread your comments. Because if people can't trust your report, it's basically worthless.
Okay, so we've got the 6-step structure down pat. But what about the actual information, the real stuff that goes inside the report? Well, to tell the full story, you need to understand what I like to call the data trinity.
For your report to be truly powerful, it needs a balanced diet of 3 kinds of data. First, you have your classic financial data. Sales, profits, the usual suspects. Second, you've got non-financial quantitative data. These are hard numbers, but they're not dollars and cents. Think number of customer complaints. And third, you have non-financial qualitative data. This is the harder to measure stuff, like is our reputation getting better? Is staff morale good?
And this is why that balance is so critical. This quote says it all, really. It's easy to make your profits look good for a few months by, say, using cheaper ingredients or cutting back on training for your team. Your financial report would look fantastic. But what's happening to your non-financial metrics? Customer satisfaction is probably tanking, and your staff are getting burned out. Here's the key. Those non-financials are often leading indicators. They're the warning signs of future financial problems. They protect the long-term health of the business.
So let's just break these down a bit more. Non-financial quantitative data is basically anything you can count that isn't money. For our restaurant green plate, this could be the number of tables they serve per hour, the percentage of online orders that are late, or the exact number of one-star reviews they got this week. It's objective, it's measurable, it's a hard number.
Now, qualitative data, that's a bit different. This is the stuff that captures the vibe, the feel of the business. How is our brand perceived out there in the world? Are customers generally happy when they leave? Is the kitchen team feeling motivated and creative? This information is absolutely vital for understanding the why behind the numbers, even if it's a bit harder to pin down.
And that brings us to another really important exam term, construct. A construct is something that's real, but you can't touch it. It's intangible. Things like customer satisfaction or employee enthusiasm. You can't just take out a ruler and measure it. So what do? We create a stand-in, a proxy. We turn that qualitative construct into a number, usually with something like a survey. Asking customers, hey, on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy were you today, turns the construct of satisfaction into a number that we can actually track over time.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground here, from the 6 steps for building a report to the 3 types of data you need to fill it with. To make sure all this really sticks, let's do a super quick, rapid-fire recap of the key financial metrics we talked about. It's time for the Formula Flash.
Let's go. Sales, that's your total revenue, the top line. Profits, what's left after you subtract all your costs. Gross profit percentage, this tells you how profitable your core product is before all the overhead. And return on capital employed, or ROCE. This one's huge for exams. It shows how well a company is using its money to make more money. A higher ROCE is a really good sign. You gotta know these. And I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. If your financial report is showing record-breaking profits, but your qualitative data shows that your team is miserable and customers are starting to complain, which story do you believe? The best leaders out there know the answer. You need both to see the whole truth. And that, my friends, is the real power of a great performance report.